Have you ever had a dream that was kind of crazy, but it was so wild and crazy that it actually just might work? I had one of those dreams for a Squishmallow craft beyond my wildest imagination, and it was so crazy that it just might work. Hello and welcome back, my beautiful froggy army, to another video, and welcome back to another cursed Squishmallow craft video. Yes, today's project is quite out there, to be honest. I feel like this is the most complicated one to date, aside from probably the blanket. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, go check out my other Squishmallow craft videos. I feel like you'll really enjoy them. But today's craft was inspired by one singular Squishmallow, and we'll get into that in a bit, but I hope that you'll stick around for the process and wait until the end to see the final reveal of today's outfit that I'm going to be constructing purely off of Squishmallows, yarn, and vibes. Some of you have also asked about my process for cleaning these Squishmallows because I have been sourcing these Squishmallows from Goodwill, and a lot of them do have like stains or rips on them, so some of you have asked how I clean them. I'm gonna have a small segment right here just showing you what I kind of do, what my process is, but if you do want to just skip that, you're not really interested in learning about how I clean these Squishmallows, then feel free to skip to this timestamp right here. So I'll go ahead and show you that really quick, and then we'll get into the project. So here are some particularly dirty Squishmallows that I have rescued from the thrift store. First up is this little sea slug. She's got this giant stain on her, and then this penguin that I end up using for the project has a myriad of stains all over her. Plus bonus, this Brina or Capriane has severely matted hair, so I'm going to try to fix that a little bit. So you're going to need some stain remover. I use this Tide Rescue, and I spray it kind of liberally all over the stains, and then I take an old toothbrush and I use that to scrub it all in and really get some friction going, really work the stain remover in. And then honestly, I spray it with more. I just straight up spray it with more. And then I'm going to drop it in the washer, but we are going to be letting these sit because the stain remover needs time to work its magic and soak into the fabric and all that good stuff. So I'm dropping them in the washing machine with like the Tide Pod and everything already in there, but I am going to let it sit for like an hour. And then for this poor Bigfoot, I tried to use this slicker brush to work out her hair in some way, shape, or form, and I think this is just heat damage because the texture of the normal Bigfoot hair is completely gone. Technically, the Bigfoot fur I think is like an acrylic fabric, so if it does get heat damaged, if it has too much heat, it is going to like technically melt, and I don't think it'll ever return to its original form. But after a lot of brushing, I think I did make a difference, so that's what it looks like. Again, it's never going to be the same, but I personally wash all thrifted plushies on a normal cycle with the hottest water it can go, just for as much disinfecting powers as possible. If your plushies feel more delicate and you don't want them to get kind of messed up in the wash, then you can definitely put them inside a pillowcase, and you can also put more laundry in the washer, like some shirts or a blanket or towels or something, just so they're not being like thrown around everywhere. But most of the stains are gone, and then here is a little sea slug with that really big stain on her back being completely gone. So I'm going to take these unwilling sacrifices and we're going to turn them into something new. Now this all started because of this wonderful little narwhal, and I had the inspiration when I saw her little pocket. Now this is a mom and baby Squishmallow, and normally a little Squishmallow clip would be in there, but I found her at Goodwill missing her baby, so we are going to give her a new purpose, and that pocket just reminded me of an overall pocket. You know, when you have a pair of overalls and it has like a nice big pocket on the front, that's immediately what I thought of. So today we are making some overalls. But these are the Squishmallows that I'm using today for this project, and these have all for the most part been rescued from Goodwill. These are my very scientific notes and drafts for this project. I had two variations, and we're going to be doing the one on the left. I'm jumping in here with a little bit of a sneak peek, but also to remind you that I do have a Froggy Boba plushie in my merch store, so check it out if you haven't gotten it already. It's got so many cute face details. I love it so much. It's super adorable, so check it out. My merch store is linked down below. Anyway, let's move on to the video. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Squishmallow projects, you know how this is starting. We're starting with the seam ripper, and I am going in on the booties of all of these plushies, and I'm just ripping them open because I do need to take out all the stuffing, but I also need to just completely seam rip the front and the back pieces separately. But yeah, the stuffing on this narwhal was a little bit clumpy, a little bit, yeah, clumpy. That's the only word I know how to describe it. But here's the Squishmallow flesh skin, and now I'm just going to continue seam ripping. So again, separating the front and back pieces because that just makes it easier to cut them out into squares, because you know, this is like a 3D circular-ish shape, ovally shape, and it's hard to cut out squares from this unless we have some semi-flat pieces, even though these aren't even completely flat. And then of course I am repeating that process so many times, ripping so many seams. That's all I did. That's all I did, and Miss Peach was there for moral support. Thank you, Miss Peach. And once again, as soon as I ripped a large enough hole, I was able to just pull out all of that old stuffing. This one was not as clumpy, but a little bit of clumpy, a little bit. If you've seen one of these videos, you kind of know how it goes. You know, the process is pretty much the same for all of them, but hey, I worked really hard on these, so I need to at least put some of this footage in here, you know, for it to be worth it. So I took all that stuffing out, repeated the process a couple more times, and now we have lots of skin. And you guessed it, we're going to be cutting out our squares now. I had a really hard time actually finding a like acrylic block. I think it's called a quilting block, which is like the little square that you use as a guide for these. That's commonly used in sewing. I say that as if I have any knowledge about sewing. I don't. But I had a really hard time finding one, aka I went to one Michael's and they didn't have it, so I just made my own out of like this foam stuff. So that's the white thing that you see there. But once I got to the narwhal, actually the square was not large enough to fit her belly and her horn. So I kind of had to wing it, and she is gonna be a rectangle, but I actually do think it works out in the end for her to be rectangular. But anyway, you know how it goes. Now I'm using this perforated rotary cutter, and I'm using this to put holes in all of the sides, and I am repeating that over and over and over and over again for all sides of all of these flesh pieces, and that way I have holes to stick my crochet hook into, because that's how we're going to be joining them. And this is just a super weird craft combination, but here are all of those flesh pieces, all of those delicious skin pieces, and now I'm gonna take my hook and yarn, and yeah, like I said, we're gonna be crocheting because I don't know how to sew. All I know how to do is crochet. So I'm basically just crocheting a half double crochet border around, and what I do is I stick my hook in the hole, I do a half double crochet, and then I chain one in between each one, and it gives it some stretch, some flexibility. That way it's not like super bunched up around the corners. So I finished that first round as a base, and then rounds 2 and rounds 3 are more of a granny square pattern. I thought it would look cute. I haven't really done the traditional like granny square cluster pattern look on these projects before. Normally I just do like single crochet or half double crochet all around for a couple rounds, but I thought it would look cute, and plus it goes a little faster, I'll be real. Anyway, I ran out of that blue yarn, so I had to switch over to this other random pink yarn that I had, and I am starting on that with the boba, which by the way is a fake Squishmallow. I mean, I think this one is pretty obvious. I don't remember where this one came from, but she works just fine. Alright, update on all of these squares. We are so close to being done. I have completed the majority of them except for the narwhal, which is going to be the front panel. So I figured I'd take you through these. We obviously started with the blue yarn, and I did have to switch like I probably mentioned, but we've got the penguin looking good, and then here is the back of that one. I feel like this was like a 7.5 inch Squishmallow, so I am scared that that square turned out a little bit smaller, but I think it's fine. We've got the Bigfoot looking good. I always forget if this one is Capriane or Brina. I can't remember. And then the backside looking a little bit funny, and then we've got our sweet little kitty. We've got the front, and then the back as well, looking very blue. The square is looking very blue. So like I mentioned, I had to switch to the pink yarn, so I did use that for the little bobas, and I'm kicking myself because I wish I had just used blue for these and pink for something else, because I didn't want to do pink and pink. It's just too much pink. But whatever, what's done is done. I don't really think it matters. I had this much of the blue yarn left when I had the 2 boba pieces to crochet around. I figured that I would run out of this on like the second piece or something. I didn't think this would be enough, but I am going to keep this for potentially the chest panel, and I'm thinking maybe I could do like a cute border or something like that. I could do some cute little edging on there, and I am going to work on that piece now, so I'm going to mainly do it in pink, but I figured we could use this for like some accent somewhere. I don't know, but that's how we're looking right now. So like I mentioned, it is on to this next piece. Okay, here's the front panel finished with the border. I actually did an extra row all around. Normally for the other ones I was doing 3, but this one I did 4, because when I only did 3 and I held it up against me, it was a little small. And it still is a little bit small, but I think this will work better. I mean, overalls, they don't really fully cover everything anyway, because I mean, I'm gonna wear like a shirt under it, but yeah, I think this will be good. I'm thinking it'll sit right here. I'll make some straps. Okay, hey, I'm back. I don't remember what the last thing I recorded was, even though I literally recorded it like a few hours ago. I went and ate dinner, and then honestly all thoughts left my brain. So I have been stringing together these bad boys just with some, what are these called again? Stitch markers. And I've been trying to figure out if this is gonna fit on my body, and I do think that it's gonna fit. Here's my thought process, right? So obviously this is not exact science here, just an approximate, but I think this will fit around my body. These are quite stretchy. They do stretch a lot. So I think if I just sew this whole thing together in a tube, it'll be totally fine. So I think I'll sew that together in a tube, and then I have 4 more, so make another tube and sew those together. So I think this is gonna end up being a skirt. I don't think I'm gonna have enough leeway to make it into shorts, so I think it's gonna be like an overall dress. I don't know what I'm gonna do because I still have this whole piece to crochet around, so thankfully it's just the back piece. So I think I'm gonna end up just doing like a random yarn color for that and hope that nobody looks at it. I think right now I'm just gonna get to sew in and really just hope for the best. Alright, here are the first 2 all joined up. It's looking good. This was definitely kind of like a learning experience. It definitely looks a little bit better up at the top here. I realized I was doing it wrong like halfway through, but it's fine. So I think actually what's gonna be the smartest thing for me to do is, I thought it would be smart at first to join like the first layer and make the first like tube and then make the second tube and then sew those 2 tubes together, but I actually think it makes sense to kind of do it all at once, if that makes sense. I don't know, just trust me, okay? I'm just gonna like sew all of the pieces together at once, not really do like tube and then tube, whatever I was talking about. So yeah, we're just gonna do that, and I'm just gonna keep continuing with this join method. Definitely takes a lot longer than other join methods I could do, but I think it may be worth it because I think it looks a lot cleaner. You know, it looks a lot cleaner, it looks cute. So I'm hoping if I can just at least sew all of the skirt part together, that'll be enough progress for tonight, and then tomorrow we'll just be sewing the like chest pieces on and straps, and then whatever extra crocheting I have to do for like borders and adding length to the bottom. So just gonna continue working on that, and I will catch you once we have made some more progress. Okay, update. Here is where we are at right now. It's coming along, it's coming along. So I still have this seam right here, and then I've still got this one right here. And then the idea is to take this and then sew it into a tube. But I have foreseen a problem here. So I'm thinking this is like the front panel, right? And then if I kind of just finagle the back a little bit, this middle seam is kind of like my guide because that's already what's sewn in place, and that is actually the least stretchiest point. So if this can stretch, then I know like it'll fit. However, when I try to stretch that all around, we get to about here at the widest part of my hips, and we've got this big gap. It does not fit. It does not fit. So even if I forced it, it doesn't stretch large enough, and I would not be able to get this over my hips. So I'm thinking if I foresaw this problem, I would have done this on both sides, but I'm thinking I'm just gonna have to crochet down this side and just like add more thickness, because otherwise we're not like, this is gonna be like a pencil skirt where it's so tight, you know what I mean? But yeah, it is already 12:30. I spent an hour doing this. So I'm going to start heading to bed and work on this tomorrow. This is my progress on the back panel. I had to whip out a different pink yarn because I did not have enough. Did we already run through this? I forget. But I'm just doing it in a random yarn because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be on the back. Who cares about the back? Nobody's gonna see that. I'm really happy with the seam choice though. I think this is gonna be my go-to for joining granny squares from now on. It just looks so nice. And I'm actually thinking about redoing my first seam, which was right here, because I don't know if you can tell, or if it's just me because I'm looking at it with perfectionist eyes, but like, it's more raised, it's not as flat as these. Anyways, that's it for me tonight. I will see you tomorrow with more progress. Okay, so I finished the side panel and I sewed it all together, and this is what it's looking like so far. I feel like this is definitely a trust the process type of thing, especially the back. It's looking a little rough. It's looking a little rough, and it's tight here but loose up here, and I don't like that. I'm hoping sewing on this piece is gonna make it look better. I don't know, but I'm gonna get to work on that, and hopefully by the end we will have a pair of overalls. And here is how the overalls turned out. I think that they came out actually a little bit better than I expected. I truly was anticipating for these to be just a total disaster, and while it is very wonky in a lot of areas, it doesn't quite sit nicely, especially on my booty area. It's tight in some places where it shouldn't be, and it's loose in some places where it shouldn't be, but that is totally okay. I still think it came out very cute. This was a very fun project and very interesting construction-wise, and figuring out how everything, you know, went together and putting everything together. And I think even the color scheme came out pretty decent for me just using random stuff that I already had. Aside from maybe like the hot pink in the back. Maybe that doesn't fit so well, but I think it came out super cute, and I really love the buttons that I added too. So yeah, I'm overall very happy with this project, and I really hope that you enjoyed watching the process. It was very fun. As always, comment down below some things that you would like to see me make out of Squishmallows. Anything goes at this point, anything goes. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.